everybody make it through on Wednesday other than Edan?
Yes, everybody other than Edan. Edan, as I said, felt his hamstring. He's had a scan. There's a little bit of fluid there, so we won't risk him this weekend, that's for sure. But it's not a long-term one. And it's probably the best that we pulled him out when we did.
In terms of just trying to figure out what you saw Wednesday as a product of just kind of growing pains or whatnot, how do you go about trying to evaluate the good moments and whether or not you want to use that again, not just this weekend, but for more of the near future?
Yeah, to be honest, there was a lot of good moments. You review the game and reflect on it, and we've given away. It seems that we're in a spell at the moment where pretty much every mistake is a goal against us. I looked at the XG after the game, and I think their chances were 0.04. They're not big chances. Cali obviously should save the first one. It's a super strike for the second goal, and then we were on the front foot, for the third goal, looking to get back into it, but chasing the game, unfortunately. So, yeah, there was a lot of really good points. I thought we had good possession. I thought we had good domination at times. We can work the goalkeeper more, but we also created some really good chances. As I say, Wilf, I thought, played well, scored a good goal. Edan, had the chance he put wide. Patrick's got a chance when he's cut inside. Pep's had the one he's put over the bar. Westy's had a chance for the edge of the box. So, it wasn't like we weren't creating chances. So, that side of the game's good, but we've just got to get back to, stop conceding silly goals.
When you have Liel playing that right wing back position, does that limit him in any way, or does that, you think, also maybe just open up parts of what he does well, particularly when he can run?
I think it does a little bit of both. He's obviously, when we're defending deep, he's got to get back in the five. But likewise, when we're attacking, he needs to make the edge of the box. And you saw it when the two subs come on. I think Cohen's put a couple of crosses, and Nick Scardina's got on the end of them, which set up the big chance for Pep. Which, if he scores, we probably go on and win the game. But it's ifs, buts, and maybes at the moment.
I know you said that you got Zaha into play in the wide areas, but how much did what you saw on Wednesday night got him closer to more dangerous areas?
Yeah, I thought he received it in areas where he got the opportunity to turn and run at people and link up with people, and I thought he did really well at doing that. For me, he can play in both the positions. As I've said before, he can play in pockets of space, but he can play on the side as well.
I'm not going to ask you outright, is it here to stay fully, but in terms of, is it more match dependent, or is it more about, this is the personnel I have, I got to utilize it the best way?
I think at the moment it's looking at the squad of what we've got, and the best way to use that. And I've always been along that mindset. I've never been a big player of three at the back, but times, there's times when I feel that your squad fits that, and it fits your squad. So we'll see how we go.
What are your impressions about Chicago Fire?
Not a lot so far, because I've not seen too much. I'll be watching them today. We've had too many games for me to take a look at Chicago after this. I'll then go and sit down with my analysis staff and go through a few of their strengths and weaknesses. Yesterday was a regen session for the players when we got back from the game. And today it was getting them back into it, ticking them over and walking through bits and bobs that we can do better. And then give them what Chicago are going to be about tomorrow.
I know that you don't like leaning on the home form, but is there a refreshing thing about being back at the Bay?
Well, definitely when you've been on the road quite a bit and you've not got the results that you feel that you've deserved. But I've said to the players, and I said it today, 4 games ago we were top of the league, and I've not changed since then. I didn't get too high, and I'm not going to certainly get too low that we've lost a few games, because in all honesty, our performances are better than probably when we're winning games, and you can only control your performances. And the way football works, and I've said this before, this league is a very tight league. anybody can beat anybody on the day, but if you've got some organisation, some structure and some togetherness, then you can go a long way in this league, and I think we've got them. I've got them in abundance. What helps us is the fact that, you know, I've been here 15 months. I've not been to every ground so far, but we've got the best fans in the league, what I've seen so far. You know, and I think that helps us in our home games, and that's why we're so strong at home. You know, and the players feel that as well.
Mike? You just touched on, you know, you haven't gone too high, too low. You've been the same in spite of the results of the last four, but is it easy to fight the temptation of wanting to change? Because you changed some of your structure for last game. Trying to stay true to what you guys do, how difficult is that when it's not going the right way?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the way I look at the game is horses for courses. You know, we played Orlando 3 times in Orlando last season, and they were the better team in all 3 games, in all honesty. You know, we had to defend our box really well and defend our half very well. You know, we got a breakaway goal in the last game. We should have gone on and seen us progress. So I felt that game was going to be right for us to make a change and do something different against them, because they haven't changed. Their manager's not changed. Their team hasn't changed too much. And I thought it helped us. It gave us a different aspect against them. I don't think they expected it. It doesn't help when you're chasing a game at 2-0 down with the goals that we gave away. But I felt it was a good option for us and gives us that optionality. You know, but no, I'm very, very aware of the players that we've got, the squad that we've got, what we're really good at, and what will keep us or get us back onto the winning track.
There's nothing you can do, obviously, about the schedule, but with the MLS schedule alone, you had 7 matches this month. The U.S. Open Cup added 2 more, so it's 9 over like 24 days. How much are you leaning on the fitness department, the physical, your training staff, and that sort of thing, to get you through?
To be honest, I think I'm leaning on my wife more to wash my dirty linen when I get back. You know, I can do it myself as well. So, but it's tough. I mean, it's rinse and go again, pretty much. And it's tough. But you know, latterly in the season, we're going to have something like 12 games at home on a spin. I think that's how it feels at the moment. So, it's tough travelling so much, but it is what it is.
It's not so much the travel aspect of it, though. I mean, just the physical toll that the game can take on players, and them potentially, you know, wearing down a little bit, because it has been a pretty rigorous stretch. Yeah,
it has. I mean, you know, there's been a lot of travel, and we regened when we got back on Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So the lads, you know, went to bed probably 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then had yesterday to recover at home. It's something we've done, and we think it works well to get us ready for Saturday. You know, it hasn't escaped my attention that, you know, Chicago didn't have a midweek game, and Columbus won't have a midweek game next week. You know, so you know, we're the patsies, I think, at the moment.
I'm glad you noticed that too.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
When it comes to Wilf and his goal that he scored in Orlando, we talked about how he'd gone a stretch without scoring a goal. A goal like that quick turn, the whip, and the pace on the shot, that's kind of what you expect to see from him. That's what he's capable of. For a guy like Wilf, who's been through the highs and the lows, is a goal like that just another goal, or is that okay? Maybe do they start to come in bunches for him?
I wouldn't say there'll be some relief in it for him, but you could see that he enjoyed that moment, you know, and probably needed that moment, as we all do, because we all like him here. We know what he adds to us, so scoring that goal for him will give him a big boost, but it also gives the team a big boost as well.
Jorge?
Kind of just piggybacking off that question, you know, obviously Zaha scored Wednesday night, and then Biel has been scoring. Just how important is it, you know, to have your DPs kind of finding their form?
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, as I've said before, I don't like the DP titles. I think it just puts too much expectation on. It's a team game, you know, and we have to get people the ball. We also have to have 11 players defensively as well. So, you know, but when there's the expectation because of that title that's given them, then it's really important that for them and for us that we're helping them, you know, become a good part of the team, and part of that team is scoring goals and assisting.
Nice. And then I think both in Orlando and Nashville, there were opportunities where you could either tie the game or, you know, some of the players had some great opportunities. Does that concern you at all that those aren't going in, or is it just part of the game?
I think it's part of the game. You could add Columbus to that as well, although Columbus were the better team. You could add New England to that as well. You know, we've been creating good chances, and that's the important part of the game, to make sure you continue doing that. As I've always said, the hardest thing to do is score a goal in game football, because there's 11 players trying to stop you. If you're not creating chances, that's when I worry, because then there's a bigger problem. I think structurally, whether we play the 3 or the 4, I think we're in a really good place. I think we look organised, you know, and we know what we need to do. So it's just a case now of the players making sure there's full concentration and full effort.
With, you know, so many matches, you know, Saturday and Wednesday, your midfield, Brant and Ashley, they have a lot of space to cover and a lot of running to do. What have you noticed from them?
We probably gave them a day off on Wednesday in that game, because they actually done less running during that game, because we didn't need them running vertically as much, so it was pretty much more side to side, not as much high speed running. Probably our centre backs did a lot more than they would normally do in a game, just given the changes of the structure. But they're working extremely hard for us. They're both of them pretty much cover the 11k a game. You know, that's their sort of distances they're covering, and, you know, 600 or 700 high speed running as well. So you know, they know what they're used to and what they can do, and we're managing them quite well.
And then last one is just getting back to winning ways against Chicago. Just how important is that, you know, given such a downward trajectory the last 4 matches?
Yeah, I mean, it's a downward trajectory in terms of not getting points on board. And as I keep saying, and, you know, I want to win games no more than anyone, but you can never guarantee a win ever. You know, you have to go and perform to the best of your abilities, and games are won in both boxes. You know, always are. You know, unfortunately, over the last 3 or 4 games, we've not been as good as the opposition in both boxes. You know, that's what we have to improve on to get back to winning ways. Cheers, thank you.
We'll go to Steve.
Hey, Dean. Last year you came in and the primary objective was, you know, improving the defense, which you did tremendously there. In trying to improve the offense this year, has there been a trade-off that's not quite found its way yet?
No, not in my opinion. Yes, we've conceded some goals over the last 4 games. I think it's 8 goals we've conceded, but we're giving up chances that the likelihood of the opposition scoring should be minimal. You know, as I said, the first 2 goals they scored were 0.3, 0.4, 0.03 and 0.04 in XG, which is very, very unlikely for them to score. 0.8 is a penalty, you know, so that just tells you the kind of chances that we're giving up. So there's been this data or analysis about a lot of shots being against us, but the shots where we want them to be. What we don't want is when they're seeing, you know, the whites of your goalkeeper's eyes quite close up, you know, but we haven't helped in some of the goals that were given away.
In your post-game analysis of, you know, some of the opposition goals, has there been situations that you've seen where there was a breakdown in communication, or just players not closing down quickly enough?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you look at the second goal, or I certainly reviewed the second goal, you know, and it's probably, we'd only had 24 hours working on playing 3 at the back, although we discussed it quite well, and I was really pleased with how the players adapted, took lots of new stuff on board. You know, one of the things was we knew when Janssen, the middleman, because they build up in the 3, when he had the ball on his left foot, that we didn't need to jump, and Jack just got caught jumping, which left him with a 1v1. But we then defended the box well, and it's come out to the edge of the box, and Liel comes from an angle to go and press the ball. If he stays, the ball lands where he should be anyway, because we've got people central to go and press it. So that was just a little bit of learning and something that we can actually work on and make sure it doesn't happen again.
So you're comfortable that these are minor situations and that overall things are where you want them to be and will right themselves?
Well, they're not where I want them to be, because I'd rather have a lot more points. And I certainly feel we've deserved them in the last few games. But in terms of where the opposition is shooting from, yeah, I think we're defending well. You know, the mistakes that have occurred for the goals, we can work on them. So that's for sure.
Thank you.
Cheers, Steve.